Joining me in the studio is the Shadow Defence Minister, Brendan O'Connor. You were at that dawn service in Canberra. Returning to some normality, there were some 4,200 people there, but it's still restricted given the COVID elements. Did you get a sense that it was back to what it should be there?
Oh, look, it's a remarkable place to be on this day, and the fact that there were some restrictions made it a little more difficult. But given what happened last year, of course, where people had to commemorate, in their driveway or at home, it was nice to see people come together. The Prime Minister, the CDF, and other distinguished guests. It was great to be there.
Do you get the sense that this year has a different focus for many of the veterans? Because as I spoke to Darren Chester, we are preparing now for the end of what has been a 20-year operation, effectively, in Afghanistan.
Yeah, look, it's hard to believe when that war commenced and we were involved in that war. It's hard to believe now. It's now become our longest war. 41 ADF personnel died in pursuit of stabilising the Middle East. Obviously, at the time, there was great fears that Afghanistan would become a haven for terrorism, unchecked. And whilst there's no perfect way to end with a war or certainly withdraw forces, I think we're doing the right thing following the decision of the United States to withdraw. And of course, we should continue to provide succour and support, advice to maintain as much stability as possible. And that was the reason we went in, as you know, Kieran, was to stop that haven for terrorism developing, which would have been a great threat to many parts of the world.
And we've had, obviously, there were many casualties, Australian casualties there across 2 decades. Tragically, we see the casualties happen on our own soil upon their return, and this is a day of grief for many families in that sense, as well as we prepare now for a Royal Commission into veteran suicide.
Yeah, I think that's been, the thing that we haven't really had a proper conversation about, that there are far many more ADF personnel after leaving the force that have self-harmed or suicided, and I think we need to work out ways to prevent that happening. But today, of course, is a day of commemoration for the service and sacrifice of ADF personnel, not just in the Afghanistan war, but also, of course, every conflict since Gallipoli. And I think that's what we're focusing on today. But I do think you're right. We have so many contemporary veterans today. If you go to any service around the country, of course, you see veterans, young veterans from Afghanistan, Iraq, and other wars. And I think that's a reminder that we need to do whatever we can to help defence personnel and veterans from this day.
Indeed. And the other challenge that we face, and I spoke to Matt Anderson, the director of the War Memorial, about this, is how to grapple with the very serious allegations against a few. The vast majority served with great distinction, as we know, and a nation is proud of them. There are allegations against a minority.
Yep.
And Matt Anderson said his job is to document the truth.
Well, they say that truth is the first casualty of war. We need to make sure the full story is told. I mean, today is a reminder that most people that wear the uniform are indeed ones who make the sacrifice and service to this nation, and that is indeed the overwhelming number of ADF personnel. But if there are serious allegations, as there are arising out of the Brereton report, that we need to deal with that too, not just for the country, but for indeed the many, many thousands of ADF personnel who did the right thing. So it's important that that is examined properly, that we get to the bottom of that, but never forget that overwhelmingly our ADF personnel do the right thing and really serve this country with distinction.
Yeah, exactly. And it's partly to honour those people that
Indeed.
That needs to be dealt with the credibility it warrants. Now, it's also Anzac Day, a warning for the current generation as well to, wherever possible, avoid conflict, given how appalling the ramifications are.
I think that's right. I think that's the point of the commemoration, not only to remind ourselves of the ultimate sacrifice of so many that have come before us, but it's also really a time to say, well, war has to be a decision of last resort, and if we can avoid war through diplomacy, engagement in our region. If we can maintain peace and stability, that has to be our, of course, primary aim. And I think that's a good reminder too, because war is hell for too many.
It is indeed. Brendan O'Connor, Shadow Defence Minister, thanks. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran.
If you or someone you know in the defence community needs support, please reach out to one of the organisations on your screen: Open Arms, the Defence Family Helpline, or Lifeline.